Over the past 10 years, the Board of Education requests for school funding have not been met by the City Council. This has resulted in a net loss of 48 million, which has led to cuts to programs, understaffing, fewer resources for schools. Meanwhile, for 2021 school year, the needs of our schools are greater than ever. This is unacceptable. We need to come together, and we need to demand that, again, our mayor, our city council, do the right thing and fund our schools.
A teacher for a dozen years, I've watched these amazing professionals that I get to call colleagues spend ridiculous amounts of their own money to do a job that we all know, honestly, is fairly impossible and crazy. You know, I've watched my peers buy supplies, curriculum, goods, food and clothes for students, books, technology, even furniture, because they'll do anything for your kids. I've watched as these amazing people have gotten stuff, helped raise our kids by doing GoFundMes and donor choose online things. And I always feel grateful and I see the generosity, but they also make me a little sick because it seems completely messed up that everybody's okay with that. That the Board of Ed can say, we need this much for students, and the city can say, nah, go ask the public yourselves. So I always feel like people who donate to those things should be here angry that they have to do those things. But teachers do those things every day.
As an ESL student, I faced many challenges. One of them was the low resources for ESL students. I remember that my teachers used to face difficulties at the time of trying to provide computers to the class so we could learn and use the devices for homework. The biggest challenge as an ESL student was to meet with my counselor. There was only one ESL counselor for the 3 years that I was there. Unfortunately, that counselor left to another school. And there are not enough counselors for ESL students, and also for any student in general, if you might know. It was difficult to get the support I needed to talk about my classes in college as an ESL student.
As many of you know and have heard, over the past 10 years, the gap between the budget approved by the Board of Education and the amount of money allocated to the schools by the City Council has grown into a $48 million deficit. This pattern of underfunding is shameful, especially for a district that continues to grow. While some responsibility does lie with the state, the City of Danbury has a moral obligation to maintain the quality of its schools. Compared to other cities in Connecticut, Danbury kicks in a relatively small percentage of town money for school funding. We have consistently ranked 169 out of 169 districts in Connecticut for per pupil funding. This has not changed in years. Shame. This is not something to be proud of. This isn't not an act of fiscal responsibility. This is negligence. Our kids in our community are the ones who are suffering because we have not made responsible investments in our schools.
In one of the wealthiest counties in the country, you would think we would have progressed to provide buildings in which teachers and students can comfortably go about their day of teaching and learning. But every year we find ourselves in battle. And this problem with our buildings, it's district-wide. It's not just the high school. But that's where I work, and this is where I want to give you the examples, but it's a microcosm. Take the science wing. Please, take the science wing. This year, teachers have had, now listen to this is wild. Teachers have had to try to teach students, students have tried to learn in temperatures ranging from 95 to 99 degrees. And even one day it topped at 103 degrees. I mean, that's Arizona hot. With masks, okay? And this is in the dead of winter. So we had to open the windows. And still, the heat was stifling. and wilting. Teachers trying to teach in this, students trying to learn in this. And the city came out, but there was always an excuse. So I interviewed one of our science teachers, a dedicated and innovative young educator who loves his job and his kids. He told me, and I quote, "This happens every year. And then I fight for it not to happen the next year. It's exhausting, and sometimes I feel like giving up." He goes on, "It is very difficult to deliver instruction, and all of us were extremely tired at the end of the day. I feel like the city doesn't care about us, and that's very discouraging." Listen to that. That breaks my heart. He says the heat is now off, yet the temperatures in the classrooms are still reaching 80, 85, 88 degrees. They take the temperature. He wrapped up by saying, he reiterated, "It makes me sad that the city I teach in doesn't want to help us. I taught in 95+ degree heat for nearly 3 months. So I'm discouraged and I feel ignored." Okay? Imagine how our kids feel.
Finally, Danbury is standing up and holding our elected officials accountable. For 20 years, they've been so comfortable and nothing has been done for 20 years. 50 million are being put away from our public schools. But if you take into account the investment, the inflation, it amounts to $80 million that they defunded our public schools. It is time to do the right thing right now.
Public education funding is one of the many steps toward a student-first approach. Resources and programs such as special education, school-based health centers, ELP programs, counselors, social workers, and many other support staff and programs are student-centered approach. Our students need emotional, social, and behavioral support more than ever. Reducing public education funding will minimize social work and mental health toolbox to problem solve and provide for students and the school environment.
There's no bigger demand than to get a good education. Education has always been at the center of who we were. So we are happy. We are proud to be sponsors this evening of this event because of the fact that civil rights and education go hand in hand. Education is a human right. It is a human right. And every one of us knows what education has done for us individually.
My name is Philip. I am a student in the Danbury Public Schools. The city of Danbury needs to give more money for the Danbury students' education. We the students need the proper resources for education in order to be successful and impactful to the city of Danbury and the world. My teachers tell me that I am very smart. However, they do not have the gifted and talented program at my school. That is a big problem for students like me. I want the city of Danbury to give the right amount of money to the Danbury Public Schools budget. Why would you not want to make sure the students in Danbury are receiving the best possible education they can? Because we are the future.